Guyana in the Caribbean. Lush and mysterious rainforests, white and sunny island beaches, right? But how much do we really know about the history and culture of this region? Join us and together we'll go on a voyage of discovery.
Today we look at the bittersweet history of sugar in Guyana. Guyana's history is inextricably entwined with the cultivation of sugar, even to the point of dividing the people of that country. While the roots of this industry are undoubtedly planted in the soil of African slavery, its growth has been nurtured over time by the sweat of Indian indentured labor. And while one might assume that this would bring descendants of the two peoples together, that has certainly not been the case for decades. Hi there and welcome to the Aaron Darcy Project, where we examine the people, places, and events that have shaped the history of Guyana and the Caribbean. I am your host, Ryan. In today's episode, we look at the complex journey of sugar in Guyana, examining its historical trajectory, socio-economic impact, and the factors that were part of its transformation. We'll also look at some of the estates that contribute to this intricate narrative. Sugar has shaped Guyana's politics, economy, and society for centuries. From its colonial origins to its post-independence struggles and eventual decline, the sugar industry has left a dark cloud that still covers Guyana. This dark cloud lies hidden in the race-based politics. The story of sugar in Guyana begins in the 17th century with the arrival of Dutch settlers. Soon, plantations sprung up along the Demerara and Berbice rivers. Names like La Bonne Intention, LBI, and Leonora in Demerara, and Albion and Rose Hall estates in Berbice would become synonymous with the story of sugar. However, history reminds us that this burgeoning industry was built mostly on the backs of enslaved Africans, who endured unimaginable cruelty and hardship to fuel the insatiable demand for sugar in Europe. The sugar estates were not merely agricultural units, they were microcosms of a rigid social order. The great house, the opulent residence of the plantation owner, stood as a symbol of power and dominance, while the cramped and unsanitary slave barracks represented the dehumanization of the enslaved. The factory, with its towering chimney and relentless machinery, was a site of both production and oppression, its rhythmic churning a constant reminder of the forced labor that kept the wheels of the industry turning. The abolition of slavery in 1834 marked a turning point, but not an end to exploitation. To replace the emancipated slaves, the colonial authorities turned to indentured labor, primarily from India. Estates like Inmore, Iflucht, and Blairmorn witnessed the arrival of thousands of indentured workers, who brought with them their own cultures, languages, and religions, further diversifying Guyanese society. While indentureship offered a semblance of freedom compared to slavery, it was still a system of control and often harsh working conditions. It was here that the seeds of bitter discontent and separation between the two main peoples of this country began. It appeared that the newly arrived indentured workers enjoyed much better working conditions than the African slaves before them. This must have been because they had come under better arrangements. Some historians note that this created very bitter feelings in the slaves, and this bitterness lasted for a very long time. It has been suggested that this bitter feeling was used by the colonial powers and subsequent political masters to foment distrust between the Africans and Indians of Guyana. The 20th century brought little change, but despite the oppressive conditions, the sugar industry inadvertently began to play a crucial role in the emergence of Guyanese nationalism. Labor unrest and strikes became increasingly common, challenging the colonial power structure and demanding better treatment for workers. In 1948, there was the Inmore Martyrs incident, where 5 sugar workers were killed by police during a strike. This incident became a rallying cry for the labor movement and a symbol of the struggle against colonial oppression. The labor movement contributed to the rise of trade unions and political parties that advocated for workers' rights and self-determination, ultimately leading to Guyana's independence in 1966. But the newly independent Guyana inherited an economy that was heavily reliant on sugar, and the industry faced numerous challenges in the post-independence era. Fluctuating global sugar prices, rising production costs, and declining productivity made it extremely difficult for Guyana to compete in the international market. Moreover, the industry was plagued by labor disputes, political interference, and mismanagement, further hindering its growth. In an attempt to gain greater control and equity in the industry, the government nationalized the sugar estates in 1976, creating the Guyana Sugar Corporation, GuySuCo, to manage them. However, this move was met with its own set of challenges. The nationalized estate struggled with inefficiency, bureaucracy, and political interference, which, coupled with the existing economic woes, led to further decline. In 1977, there was a strike in the sugar industry that shut down all the sugar estates in Guyana for a very long time. To counter this, the party in power made it mandatory for all government employees as well as members of all the military and paramilitary forces to spend 1 or more days per week to labor in the sugar cane fields. This of course failed after a while, and negotiations between the government and the workers' unions ended the strike. Despite the advent and success of free and fair elections in 1992, the decline of the sugar industry accelerated into the 21st century. Factors such as the loss of preferential trade agreements with the European Union, the rise of alternative sweeteners, and the impact of climate change further exacerbated the industry's woes. Sugar production plummeted, estates like Wales and Diamond were closed, and thousands of sugar workers lost their jobs, leading to significant economic hardship and social unrest in rural communities. Today, the entire sugar industry, controlled by GuySuCo, operates only 3 estates. Albion, located in Berbice, is the largest and most productive sugar estate in Guyana, having undergone significant modernization efforts to improve efficiency. Blairmorn, situated on the west bank of the Berbice River, is renowned for producing the high-quality Demerara gold sugar. An Eiflucht on the west coast of Demerara, which has a long history dating back to the Dutch colonial period, remains operational despite facing numerous challenges. These estates, along with the closed ones, stand as testaments to the complex history of sugar in Guyana. The factories with their towering chimneys and the surrounding communities all bear witness to the generations of Guyanese whose lives were intertwined with the fortunes of the sugar industry. The sugar industry has had a profound impact on Guyanese society, shaping its ethnic composition, cultural practices, and social structures. Sugar estates functioned as self-contained communities, providing housing, healthcare, and education for workers and their families. This created a strong sense of community and identity, but also reinforced social stratification and dependence on the industry. Beyond the economic realm, the plantation system and its reliance on forced labor created deep-seated social and racial divisions that persist to this day. As Guyana seeks to transition to a more sustainable economy, great efforts are being made to address the inherent challenges of the sugar industry. While the industry's decline has brought economic hardship and social disruption, it has also created opportunities for diversification and a more sustainable future. The discovery of significant oil reserves has the potential to transform Guyana's economy and provide much-needed resources for development. The government of Guyana is learning from the mistakes of the past and avoiding the pitfalls of over-reliance on a single commodity. Diversification being the key to building a resilient and sustainable economy, huge investments are being made in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Plans are in place for creating a more equitable and prosperous society and for addressing the social and racial divisions that have been exacerbated by the legacy of the sugar industry. This is seen as being essential for national unity and progress. Guyana's journey from a sugar-dependent nation to a diversified economy is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of its people. While the sugar industry itself may have declined, its legacy will continue to shape Guyana's identity and future for generations to come. The challenge lies in finding ways to honor the contributions of sugar workers and their families while building a more diversified and resilient economy that benefits all Guyanese. We trust that you have found today's episode interesting. Please leave us a like or thumbs up. We really value your contributions, so leave us a comment on today's episode. You could also let us know what subjects you might like to be covered in future episodes. Do join us on the next episode of The Aaron Darcy Project. Goodbye for now.